Hi team. So this is a bit of an instruction about how to execute not the selfie mirror part of it, but the capturing images for FNB to prove the concept of using an application or a mini selfie mirror. And so what the purpose of this would be is to capture people on stage. So here are some example images, and I'm going to turn my phone landscape now. So here's some images of ladies who just sat down to have a talk. Their name popped up while they were being introduced. We took 3 or 4 pictures, posted them to Dropbox, and I'll show you an example of how to do that now. And that's all. Went back to our phones, took 3 or 4 or 5 more, and kept doing that. Pictures of people on stage, pictures of the crowd. And so what does that look like? Well, here's a perspective. There were 2 of us, so there's a perspective of, for example, me and one of my team members at the time, taking these images of the ladies on stage talking. Now, every time a new presenter comes on, in fact, every couple of minutes, we just need to get a lot of content on there of people on stage, giving talks, doing some action. I mean, it's not thousands of images of unnecessary things necessarily. For example, there only needed to be 4 or 5 of these ladies doing this. And the same thing with the next person. And intermediately in between people talking, which you'll notice there's always a host. That host will then, also be talking at times, introducing the next person. There'll be topics, as you can see on the screen, and different perspective shots of actions, different angles, the pictures of the crowd, trying to capture in the FNB logo from the banners. And this is essentially the second part of the work that we're looking to achieve. So there's a great shot as well, from kind of behind the screens, between the screens and the speaker, as in the DJ's speaker, we were sort of standing there kind of inconspicuously taking pictures of the crowd. So there are some really cool shots of this process. Okay, so what does one do with these images? I'm going to give you an example and a walkthrough. Okay. So one will turn their phone to landscape, ideally. 9 times out of 10 landscape. You can always give a perspective shot now and then, but 90% of the images, in fact, to be safe, just stick to landscape. So I'm using that as the perspective, and the birdhouse wooden thing. Cool, I'm capturing from different angles. Getting on my haunches, kind of lifting my arms. Then that's the crowd maybe, so taking an image of the crowd, or from a different angle. That's the crowd with the speaker in it, and I want to get a cool perspective shot, again, from multiple angles. Okay, so now I've done this. It's taken me about 12 seconds to do that. What do I do next? Okay, I open Dropbox, which needs to be downloaded as an application, and I press the plus sign. I upload files, and it will, more often than not, show the last images I've just taken. I will hold it down for a second, select, and open. Okay. If it's not, so doing a test before the event would be the greatest idea. So it doesn't even matter if it's random pictures. Doing it tonight is a great idea, or tomorrow morning. There's another way to do it, and one can open the gallery, take such images, which is usually in camera, hold them down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many you've taken at a time. If you've only taken 7 now, you only need to post those 7. Share is the bottom left of my screen. Let me just go back. It said share. So I'm clicking share. Now it's giving me options of where to share these images to. Add to Dropbox. Now, for most people, it might pop up with a screen like this. If I press back too many times, it'll take me back to camera. Not a problem. Just reselect the images, click share. Okay, so add to Dropbox. Now, I'm looking for that folder that's about 5th or 6th from the bottom. It says FNB 8 August event. So click it. Here's the folder again. I'm clicking add, and the images I've just selected are now being uploaded. How can I tell? I'm going to go back. I'm going to open Dropbox again, and I can see that they're waiting to upload. So that's how ideally I'd like this part of the process to be executed tomorrow. The reason for it is we're trying to replicate, as I said, a mini selfie mirror that would be mobile and moved around to capture perspective marketing images for social media of people on stage and the crowd interacting at this Women in Business event and future events as well. The other option is for us to potentially develop an application for FNB, if that's the case, and that's what they decide they want. More likely, it's the mobile hand device. And so this project over the next few events, 2, 3, 4 events, is to test the theory of whether this is going to add value and is going to fulfill the needs of what FNB wants. I hope this was self-explanatory, and if you have any questions at all, let me know.